Hi YouTube, Regina here from Simply Fundamental. So, it's been a couple of days since I've put together a video, and it's because I really wanted to talk to you about today's topic, and it deserves the kind of attention that I wanted to give to it. So, today's topic is we're going to talk about divorce and widowhood and how to navigate finances or the things you should do to try to protect yourself against poverty. Sadly, the statistics are not great on marriage, and 50% of marriages still end in divorce to this day. So it doesn't matter the number of years that you've spent together. As of late, there is a lot more gray divorce. So women who are much older got married younger, so we're experiencing phenomenon of gray divorce. And then the other sad thing about statistics is none of us live forever, and women tend to overall have a longer lifespan than men. I still think it's like 5.4 years. So I think men live to 73.8, from childhood to old age, and then women live, I think, 80.2 years. So that's if, that's the statistics if, from birth to death, the average lifespan of a woman is still longer than a man's. So sadly, the rest of the marriages end in the loss of a partner. And sometimes these partners go close together, but in general, it's either your marriage ends in divorce or it ends in your spouse passing away. And so I wanted to talk about this because women's income drops dramatically after a divorce or after the loss of a spouse. And these things can kind of make sense when we go through the reasons and the risk factors of why. But in general, there are some big reasons. Now, number one is the household income drop. So it makes sense. If you lose a spouse's income, that's going to severely affect the household finances. Or if you separate from a partner, that means instead of being potentially a dual income household, you go back to being a single income household. And then what happens is, still in today's age, it's a societal issue that, over time, hopefully it will be addressed, but there still is a gender wage gap. And so men in the same industries typically make more than women do. I don't know the statistics to how much more, but we do know statistically when it comes to divorce, women's income drops by 41% and men's income only drop by 23%. So that's pretty dramatic as far as the income. And there are other reasons why divorced women are 27% at risk of poverty compared to their married women counterparts. It's because of, when you're going from a dual income household and everything was shared and all the household expenses, and now you're going to be the sole breadwinner of the household, there could be reasons why your income might be less. Maybe you left the workforce to take care of a family and raise kids. And that time away from the job market could have affected your income dramatically. So what happens is you have a lifetime less of earnings, and then you have, less career growth opportunities, less chances to get raises, less opportunity to put money in your retirement, and it's so on and so on. And so what ends up happening is societally, when it comes to social structure, you'll probably have less in your Social Security as well. Now, the good news on that front is if you were married for at least 10 years or more and you're eligible for your ex-husband's Social Security, or at least half of it. So if you never worked in the workforce, then you are eligible. It has nothing to do with you won't affect their Social Security. But the caveat to this is you can't get remarried. So you would have to be claiming Social Security prior to any remarriage if you're thinking about it, because you sort of put yourself in a null and void position when it comes to their Social Security if you do remarry during that time frame. And then the clock restarts for you as far as being able to collect your new husband's Social Security. well, actually, if you become a widow during the time of your marriage, you are eligible for 100% of their Social Security, yours or theirs. Again, the caveat to that is you cannot remarry. And in that case, it really depends. But it's usually at the age of 62, with some exceptions to a little bit earlier at the age of 60. But again, in that case, you can't remarry. So to be eligible for their Social Security. But that's not really a plan. A plan to rely on someone else's Social Security is not really a great idea. Hopefully, over time, you are working, and if you are considering a divorce, that you're going to get your financial plans, on track, and you're going to think about these things ahead of time, and not end the marriage before you have yourself set up financially. So, household disruptions with as far as monetary, and then career disruptions as far as if you were working at home as opposed to taking care of kids. It could be when you do separate your finances again, you still have kids at home that you're taking care of, maybe aging parents, and it may mean that you're not able to go back to work full time. And in that case, again, you're going to earn less income. So that could be one of the reasons and risk factors as to why. And then, of course, if you haven't been working, there could be challenges as far as re-entering the workforce. Now you're competing with people who may have skills, and your skills could be a bit outdated. So there are things you could do on that front as far as trying to, learn new skills or bring your skills back up to par. But these are challenges when it comes to women and money, as far as ending relationships or losing the loss of a spouse and then having to be in a position to have to go back to work, having re-entry to the workforce challenges. And then, of course, it could be you have more household responsibilities, as far as maybe you have to pick the kids up from school, or you're not able to then work full time. And then there's the other things as well. Relationships start out, we all believe, like when, we would hope to believe that when you get married, you're thinking long term, and, your feelings of love are there, and it's in sickness and health, for richer, for poorer, till death do us part. And that would be the vow that you would take. But generally what happens is asset distribution, or, when you go through a divorce, if your names are not on the finances, men can be pretty vindictive as far as, moving money from bank accounts. And so you really kind of have to understand the money that you actually do have, the wealth that you've accumulated over the marriage, the state that you're in, how is community property separated. So you have to have really good legal understanding of what your rights are, and understand what are in the accounts, and make sure that you have all your financial ducks in a row when it comes to understanding your own marital finances. So that's really important to do. And then the other risk factor for women is if you lose the spouse during the course of a marriage, and it could be because of longevity issues, and women tend to live, longer than men. But if your spouse passed away due to a health issue, there could be medical bills that are associated with the loss of a spouse. And then those bills get passed on to, the spouse, as far as having to take care of them afterwards. So that causes another reason why women incomes drop dramatically, as far as, or drastically, in the case of divorce and the loss of a spouse. So, and then the other issue is that because women do typically live longer than men, if both couples are starting, if a couple's starting out in great health and they're of the same age, it could be because women have to take care of themselves for a longer length of time. So these are some of the things to do as far as what to do in the event that you think you are going to get divorced from your spouse. And even if you're not going to get divorced, you should still and in the event that you have a sick a spouse that is unwell, you want to make sure that you are establishing financial independence for yourself. There's going to come a point in time where you are going to be having to take care of the money, especially if you are an older adult. The understanding and having your own finances is a really important factor to be able to, just like even doing the simplest things of like getting another apartment or being able to afford another car or something, things you do along those lines. You need your own personal checking and savings outside of the joint accounts so that you can pick up the pieces and move on and be able to establish credit for yourself. And as far as joint accounts are concerned, you should be able to monitor it, understand what is in the accounts, understand the assets that you do own. So you have to get a hold of your total financial picture, especially if you are considering a divorce, because those assets need to be separated when it comes to terminating the marriage. So establish financial independence before a divorce. And you want to make sure that you're doing this because you need to have credit under your name. So establishing credit will be one of the biggest financial things that you have to do for yourself. If you don't have any credit or any bills under your name, this is the point when you're thinking of a divorce, is to potentially put something under your name so that you are establishing credit. Start paying your bills down, and start making sure that your name is on assets, as far as deeds on homes, communal property that you have together. And so, if you do have debt, or you and your spouse together have debt, you want to pay them off, try to pay them off during the course of the marriage before it dissolves, so that that debt isn't passed on to you and it doesn't become an unreasonable burden on the single income that you would be going to. And then, of course, you want to avoid taking on any new debt while you are in the relationship. Now, I did say, obviously, you want to put things under your name so you're establishing credit, but it could be something as simple as having like a phone bill under your name, and expenses that are recurring, so you can do those kind of things. And then number 3 you want to do is you want to organize and document all your finances. So it's almost like if you are married, you should have an in case of an emergency file. Within your in case of emergency, you should have all your personal information in there. And that includes, obviously licenses, passports, so that, and it should be in like a fireproof kind of safe, that where you would put this information. And these safes do not have to cost much. So we have a lock storage safe, and within it we have medical cards and Social Security passports, deed on our home, shares on our where I am right now. So we own our co-op, and so we have the deeded shares for our co-op, and so we have the share paperwork. And the household car that we own, the car is paid off, so we don't have any, it's just our car. So the deed, I forget if it's called a deed, but whatever the property, information on the car, we own the car outright. So I think it's, sometimes I lose my words. But when you own the car, you're going to have paperwork on saying that you actually own the car, and you'll have that as well. So anything you have, if you have any 401k plans, any brokerage accounts, any checking and savings, you want to have that documentation, as well as you'll want to have access to each other's iPhones. So if you have an iPhone, I don't know how it works with Android, but I know on our iPhones, if I were to lose my husband or vice versa, there's a lot of personal data on your iPhone that you'd want to have protected. And so that could be access to the iCloud for your memories, for your pictures, and you could easily set up that by going into the iPhone settings, and it literally takes a minute. You go into the iPhone settings and you click on your picture, and in there you probably see a drop down for where you could go in and do security and ID, I think it is in there, and then go and set up a legacy contact for yourself. They would then get a ping with a passcode that they would use, and they would bring that to Apple and with a copy of your death certificate, so they could get access to your iPhone. And then my husband would be able to access all our years of memories. I tend to be the one that takes the pictures, and he doesn't use his phone that much, but he has access. And I also put a sibling on there for myself in case he doesn't know how to do it. So it's just your life, your contacts. You don't get with the Apple Legacy, you do not get access to things like password, like the password manager. You don't get access to like music that you may have bought or anything like that. So it's only things that are within the iCloud. So if you have like the will, your trust, if you have any legal documents, you'd be able to access them there if you have them filed within the iCloud, and you could actually have certain things on digital file service in the cloud. So there's that. So you want to know all your assets, all your debts, your savings, your real estate, any credit cards, any loans, anything that you have outstanding. Anything for the children as well, their Social Security cards, whether they have, a 529 plan, all the financial information that you have on your spouses. And then other things like, health care proxy information and, with regards to what do you have as far as your health plan? Are there any medications that people should be aware of that for yourself and for your spouse in the event you become incapacitated and you have someone as your health directive? That's another legal paperwork. So anyway, you want all those things in case of an emergency, and you want to have access to that even in the event of a divorce, so that you could keep track of the finances that you're going to be separating your lives in that stage. And what tends to happen during the course of a divorce is assets could be hidden. And so it's really important to understand where you are. People can not include things or take out cash from the accounts, and if you're not careful, and then you could end up penniless as far as having brokerage accounts, and money could be moved out, and you'd have no say on those documents. But if you can improve these kind of things, maybe you can get yourself out of certain kind of debts. I do know that when it comes to alimony and child support, there are more deadbeat parents out there. So whether it's the husband or the wife being put down to be paying child support, I think only 1 in 3 actually do. And as far as alimony, again, you might have went in the marriage with love, but chances are when you separate, people could be spiteful, quit their jobs so that they could reduce the amount that they pay to you. They don't care about helping you out at that point. Not all marriages end well. And so sadly, you have to kind of go into the marriage with the love and do these things for yourselves and set yourself up for an amicable divorce. God forbid things were to go south while the love is still there. So for instance, my husband and I have our own 401ks. Well, he has a 403b. We've been putting money in, since I was putting money in well before I met him, and we established his. And so we both have accounts that we've set up over the course of our lives. And should one day that he decide that he wants to end the marriage or vice versa, we'd be able to separate. Our hope is that we never get to that point, and then we'd be the couple that stays together till the very end of our lives. And in that case, we're preparing for, wills and trust, and, I have long-term care term insurance on myself because we see aging parents and what that means on them. And so that paperwork would be in our case of emergency file. So he would know how to take care of me in the event that I had a stroke or I would lose my memory and I don't understand what's happening. We have pension paperwork within our files as well. So you want to just do these things while the love is in the marriage, so that you're setting yourselves up to separate if when the time comes, whether it's by divorce or whether it's by death, you're separating in a way that is respectful and kind. Now, I don't know how I'm going to feel. I have no idea. Like, God forbid, my husband cheats on me or we separate over something. I would hope that I would want us to just go our separate ways and the things we built in our marriage would be 50-50. But I don't know how you know, you just don't know how things are going to be until you're actually in that situation. So no one can say. So you have to prepare for these things while the love is in the marriage, because you don't know how things are going to end up when it's not there. And you're just, how are you going to decide to separate joint property? I mean, it's a discussion, as far as you setting up wills and trusts for yourselves. And if you don't have the money to meet with lawyers, you can go the inexpensive route and use something like will and trust, or like, I think Nolo Press has a will and trust kit that is recommended in in Smart Money Finish Rich. This book is actually pretty good. It goes through the things that you should be prepared to have, in the event of a death or a divorce, because you have to prepare for legally and financially your marriage ending, whether it be in death or divorce. And then for widowhood specifically, you want to ensure, like, what are your life insurance plans? Like, do you have life insurance, right? A lot of us have life insurance through our employers. And then when the employers end, we have to set up life insurance as far as whether or not pensions are going to continue. If they're not going to continue, then you should definitely get life insurance. Term life insurance is cheaper than whole life, but if you can't afford these things, then at least be saving in an emergency fund. One of the things that I do for us is I pay all my bills are paid 3 months in advance in the event that I pass, because I take care of all the financing. And not to say that my husband doesn't know what things are, and I'm constantly testing him, as, hey, how do we do that? How do we pay this? And so he knows how to do these things. I still think when you're grieving, you need time. And so one of the things that I do for us is I pay all our bills a few months in advance, so that there's always time to deal with the passing of a loved one. And we have basically a built-in emergency account within our funds that can't be taken from us, that can't be, by, who knows, maybe someone will defraud us of money, and at least we are set up in a way where we have a little bit of cushion there in the event that neither he and I can even think about the finances, in the event that we would lose each other. So there is that. And then you want to think about, in advance, you want to think about your Social Security. What do you do in the event that you want to know your spouse's and your Social Security, so that you have plans to what you're going to do when it comes to old age. If you haven't been working, even just contributing a little something to just getting a job that is contributing and adding, so you're building your credit so that you have income coming in, that you're not at the mercy to stay in a marriage if it's a loveless marriage, or if you are being abused within the marriage. As a matter of fact, if you are completely financially dependent on a domestic partner, the chances of domestic abuse rises exponentially. I think 70%, it can go up to like 70% of domestic partners are, the biggest risk factors is being completely 100% financially dependent on their spouse. And so that's a horrible thing. Even getting a part-time job outside of the family, do what you need to do so that you're establishing credit, so you have your own little bank account, so you're contributing and you're getting the 4 credits you need a year, so that you have Social Security for yourself, so that in the event you do want to remarry, you can remarry, and have a plan for yourself as far as your finances for your future. Old age happens. It happens a lot quicker than we all think. Gray divorce happens. I'm hearing more often than not divorces that are happening so much later in life. And so I think I even heard recently Meryl Streep is getting divorced. It's just, it happens. So regardless of how much love there is in the marriage today or in the relationship, doesn't mean that it won't end. So think about getting, your paperwork in order, get everything that you need to, so when you reach out, if you do in the event decide to go the divorce route, that you know your assets, your liabilities, you have all the paperwork, you could prove where the assets are, and then, depending on the state that you're in, things could be split 50-50. And then if you are completely dependent on the marriage, make sure if you're going to become the sole breadwinner that you get a job before the divorce. It'll make such a difference in your life if you're doing these things in advance. Sadly, when in the case of widowhood, the statistics aren't great either. It says widows are 4 times more likely to live in poverty than married women, and particularly if they're not managing the finances and they're not involved in the finances, that's a really hard position to be in. You should be involved, because sometimes what happens is a lot of people think a mortgage is really a wonderful thing to have. Oh, you get to write off the debt and you get to include it on your taxes. But when a spouse passes and you still have a mortgage and you're leveraged up to your eyebrows, and you need 2 incomes to be able to pay your debts, chances are then it's going to be much more difficult to keep the house that you lived in if you don't have the proper insurance to support you in the event that that someone passes. And then insurance is not foolproof. If the insurance has so many clauses in it that even if you do have insurance, if God forbid you were drinking and driving and your husband got into a car accident and passed, you wouldn't get paid for the insurance, because that is one of the the little clauses in there. You can't contribute to your own death and be drunk and then think they're going to pay you out some big plan, because that won't happen. So it's always better to try to make sure that you're paying down debts, that you have money of your own coming in, you have your own bank accounts, you have your own credit, you understand where the finances are, your names are on the deeds of the property as far as assets are concerned, and that you understand where all the money goes and the income coming in, so that you know what to do in the event that, the unthinkable that happens. It happens, for all of us. So widows, we did speak about this, but widows receive 100% of their deceased spouse benefits starting at full retirement age, or reduced benefits as early as 60. But again, the caveat to that, remarrying before 60 disqualifies you from claiming survivor benefits. So you can't get remarried before 60. And then in the event of a divorce, you want to make sure that's a fair division of equitable property. A lot of women take the home. The problem is you can't live on the value of a home. So you want to really be thinking about the terms in your divorce, how you're going to be able to support yourself, what are the things you're going to be doing, have you established the credit, and you want to get legal expertise, obviously. If you can negotiate spousal maintenance, alimony, and child support, more power to you. But reality is not only a percentage of exes pay that. So really, they really don't. And then over the course of your marriage, even if you are earning some income, maybe, I know I have a friend of mine who contributed her complete earnings that she made during the marriage, and they're still married, but she worked just so she could put money in her retirement. And 100%, I think it was like 90, I think you could put up to 90% of your income after you pay all the taxes and everything that is, into your own retirement. So consider funding your own retirement so that you are set up for future in life, so that you are saving for your own future. And then if you do know that you are going to be, you want a divorce, you want out of the marriage, you start working on your skills, start working on your career. You're going to have to be able to support yourself. You can't just jump into another relationship Well, I'm sure you can, but it's not a plan financially to over the long term to take care of yourself in older age. You have to consider these things and maybe work on your skills. There's a lot of things that you could do as far as even when it comes to working from home that you could do to as far as earning income and then investing in your own retirement as well. And then you have to think about your health insurance. I know with COBRA, if you are getting a divorce, you can continue on with your ex's plan as long as you notify the company that your ex works at within 60 days of the life event. And it's the same thing. You can continue to cover keep the health care that you have. But when you lose a spouse, as long as the benefits, continue through the employer and you do the COBRA. But COBRA is expensive. So COBRA is like you're picking up the employer's portion that they would pay plus your own portion that you were paying before, that you would be paying for that. So it is expensive. So you may want to consider buying insurance through the open market and doing it that way, specifically if you are not making that much in income. It could be that these are one of the benefits that you can get from the state that you live in, reduced amount that you pay for, health care. And then you want to pursue any kind of social programs that they have within the state that you live and see if there are things that they could do that society has in place to help you through the transition. Specifically, if you are in a domestic violence kind of situation, still really important to make sure that you're safe and do the best that you can. But it's really, really one of the best things you could do is make sure you establish your own finances. And even if you're just saving a little bit on the side for your of money that you have in your own bank account that your ex doesn't have access to, and you're building your own credit, even if it means something as simple as paying a phone bill, do that. Because these things are going to go a long way when it comes to trying to move on your own and establish a new life for yourself. As far as, picking up the pieces and moving on. Anyway, this is a really tough topic. I wanted to make sure I cover everything. And, I don't know, sorry about that. Legal protections in place. I see iPhone legacy. Feature in your iPhone settings. Yeah, make sure you have in case of an emergency, master file that has all the information and documents you need. And don't forget to keep passwords in a password manager that you both have, and as well as even potentially having things written down somewhere that's secure and safe that you can both access in the event that, one, you don't pass away together. Anyway. This is Regina from Simply Fundamental. A long topic. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any comments that you'd like to share that can be helpful to someone going through this situation, please share them in the comment section. And I will catch you on the next one. Take care.